welcome back to This Just In with This Just In as your host, Justin Core. This is a show where we take a deeper dive into the issues most important to you with the people who bring you those issues or the people at the center of those issues, like our guest today. Part 2 of our conversation with the mayor of the great city of Boise, Lauren McLean. Mayor, thank you for staying after part 1.
I know, I just asked him, like, you always have 2 parts? This is a lot of talking, Justin. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. I think you're used to it, though. You're an absolute public speaker. Great at that. I'm taking notes as we go. First, though, as we're recording this, you just got done joining us on Wake Up Idaho, talking about how folks can submit their flag designs for the city's new flag. That's closed now as this drops.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if I can get mine in late.
No.
This is, I'm going to submit it. So this is the Wake Up Idaho crew. There we go. Yeah. I actually commissioned this, believe it or not, Mayor. I commissioned this painting, a painter, quote unquote, also an accountant, that's his day job, in the UK to paint this. I know you've already said no, but now that you see it. And
I think it's probably good that you didn't make the cutoff. And I hope that you weren't planning on winning the prize money.
There's prize money.
This is so sweet. I mean, like we talked about this morning, maybe Channel 7 needs a new flag.
But this could be it.
So we have on the city's TikTok and Instagram, Lil Tegan. She's 8 years old. She loves the study of flags. It's called vexillology. And I'd be happy to deliver this to her and ask her to send you her thoughts on it. But what she says is it's supposed to be simple.
Okay. This is not so simple, even though it looks simple in a way, it's also complicated.
There should be just a few colors.
Lot of colors there. It is colorful. You need to add some color to the flag, Mayor. I don't know.
The design should be distinct, not unique, but distinct, like from far away.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No,
and then,
I can tell what that is.
No words. So,
no words.
No words. Yeah. So it's really sweet. It's a great office piece, but probably not a Boise flag.
All right, fine.
I can share a good example of a flag, not a Boise flag.
Oh, yes, please.
Can I do that?
Absolutely.
So I brought this because, gosh, it was probably a year ago. The mayor of Pocatello was in my office. We were talking about trains, and he brought me this hat with their flag on it. And I'd really like to wear this hat, but I don't feel like it's appropriate for me to wear a Pocatello flag. But it's such a cool flag.
That's the enemy team.
And he said, Lauren, your city needs to choose a new flag. And it's a great chance for people to talk about what they love about Boise, both the values and our aspirations, to come together around the place that we call home, and to put it into a great visual. And I would say that this passes muster in terms of Tegan's rules of vexillology. Few colors, it's distinct from far away. It's just beautiful.
Can you just take that as ours? Be like, the star,
I'd
or the
be
capital,
like, Pocatello, sorry. Sorry.
Same as ours. You got a
we
river
could just
down
change
at
the
bottom.
colors. I mean, we'll see what the public did with their submissions. I'm confident that we will have a really neat flag that comes from Boise.
Awesome. And the process of picking through those submissions starts now, cityboise.org. Okay.
Oh, and people can vote. So we have a committee. Sorry, I should have said this. We've got a committee that's going through all the submissions, and then towards the end of March, the top ones will be put forward, and Boiseans get to vote until mid-April.
Oh, I can't wait. You will not be able to write in the picture of the Wake Up Idaho crew. Sorry, I tried, everybody. I tried. Okay, last time on This Just In, we talked about Scott, your wonderful husband, high school sweetheart. Tell me about your delightful kiddos.
Oh, thanks. I've got 2. They're not really kids anymore, but they'll always be my kids, right?
Right.
So Madeline is 25.
Wow.
And graduated from college. She's got a job. She's working, living on her own. She's doing really well. We love it when she comes home. She loves to come home in the summer to spend time in Boise and in the mountains.
Yeah,
and always comes home for Christmas too. Just really cherish our time with her. She's doing well. And Aiden is in college. He's 21. Wow. junior in college, and
a junior now already.
He's a junior.
Gosh.
I know. He was so little. He was always this like little bitty person. Like, and now he's gotten tall. Like he grew tall late.
He got your husband's
not that tall, unfortunately. I pulled him down quite a bit. But yeah, he's doing great in college. Spends time. He's so proud of the fact that he is a licensed Idaho guide for backcountry skiing and avalanche education. So he does a lot of that when he's home in the winter.
Wow.
And just loves this place so much. And again, we just love having them both home to do different things as a family. It was so fun to have them grow up here in a really special place. I love seeing them pulled back home. Yeah. And Aiden especially will say there's no place like Boise.
And it's absolutely true. My kids are getting older as well. We talked a lot about change during part 1. If you haven't watched that, please do. One of my kids, an adult now, I still forget that sometimes. I'm like, oh, wait, you're an adult. You can maybe make these decisions yourself. The other, a teen, but about to be an adult. How do you do like you're doing, where you get excited about the adults and the people they're becoming without missing too much when they were just those perfect little babies?
You know what? It's so hard. I'm gonna get teary because, of course, it was hell when they were little babies, right? Like,
also that.
God.
But I forget all those times.
I know, we forget it all. I mean, we were talking to Maggie earlier today. She's got 5. She's this Wonder Woman.
5. And
she's in the thick of it right now.
Yeah. And I don't want to reveal this without talking to Maggie. She sometimes jokes. Hopefully, it's a joke where she's like, I should adopt some more kids. And I'm like, Maggie. But she's joking. Maybe. Hopefully, James. Hopefully, she's joking. Anyway, continue.
But when we were in the thick of it, of course we didn't enjoy it. And I mean, we did, right? There were magic moments, but it was super stressful when you're trying to figure out childcare and like early in your career and how you move everybody around and what you're going to do when suddenly you need to travel for work, like all those things. And then they're screaming, right? Like, and so now I look back on it, I'm like, oh, it was so wonderful, right? Yeah. And they were so cute and they were so little and they're always around. But we have 13 kids on our block in those early stages right now. So I get to enjoy that.
Nice.
And Scott and I love it. You know, we feel like we're not old, but we're acting like really old people because all we want to be is like, let us take your children and we'll be grandparents early, right? So I love being surrounded by young kids on our block. And I love thinking back to what it was like with Madeline and Aiden at that age, with the school right behind us and kids like running through our house all the time. It feels really quiet now, but it is so special to have adult kids that do things that you love to do. Yeah. So we ski as a family, we hike as a family, we just sit around and read as a family, and it's a different stage, but it's a really cool stage, and I feel really lucky that we get to spend that time with them and that they want to spend that time with us.
Yeah. Great perspective. And if you ever really miss those babies, just think about all the screaming and the sleepless nights. And you're like, you know what, you're good. You're sleeping through the night now. Last time on This Just In, we talked about your history as a volunteer, picking back up sort of from there. About 10 years after that, you started serving on city council, eventually became council president. What inspired you to run and to sort of officially get into politics?
Yeah. You know, after the Foothills campaign, I started volunteering for the city. So I served on the Parks Commission.
Oh, nice.
In fact, Madeline was a baby, and I'd take her, and then Aiden was a baby, I'd take him.
Cool.
We met at the library. I can't remember if it was once a week or once a month. But so I volunteered on the Parks Commission, and then had an opportunity to join the Planning and Zoning Commission. And I loved that because, I mean, I had work, of course, but this was a chance to engage in the place that we called home, where we were building our lives, both as a member of the Parks Board and then ultimately Planning and Zoning Commission, thinking about like what we want our city to look like, what neighborhoods ought to have so that people can walk to parks, et cetera. And it was in that and all the while I was helping candidates run, but I never really thought I would run myself. But it was in that I was appointed to the council first, and then that same year had to run for election. It was a special election. And I did it because it was another way to impact this place that gave Scott and I so much that we'd chosen to call home.
And sort of continue to make a difference, but even in some ways a bigger difference, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I looked at it as, okay, this opportunity that I can't believe I'm having will just let me do that much more for this city that I love. And so I decided that I was really scared. I was really scared when I put my name in. Didn't want to be in the paper. Like, I just wasn't, like, I was really scared. My husband and kids were like, do it. And it was 4:59 on the day that it was closing that I hit submit. And I was really scared. But it's been a gift, and I just feel really lucky that I get to do this work for the city I love.
Yeah. I never want to wind up in the paper either. It's all right. Nobody reads the paper anymore. They do watch KTVB, so we appreciate you being on. Then in 2020, you became the first woman elected to be the mayor of Boise. How proud are you of that?
It's, I don't know, proud's a tough word.
Okay.
It feels, when I hear it said out loud and I hear the reaction of people in the room, I realize the responsibility that being the first woman elected to the role brings. Not responsibility, maybe that's not the right word, but like the honor of it and what it means to people when they hear that is a constant reminder to me of really what an honor it is to be in this role in general, but to have been picked when I was.
Yeah, but I think you're right about it. Being a responsibility, at least somewhat as well. You see people breaking barriers all over, and there's a lot more attention paid to them and criticism, because it's like, okay, well, this is the first one. They sort of are representative of, every...
You don't want to mess it up.
Yeah, every woman who could run for mayor. And yet, you're undefeated in elections. Is that right?
I don't want to jinx it.
I think you're fine. I think you're fine.
When I ran for the city council twice, I didn't have opponents. And
still counts.
So, and I did really run even without opponents. I knocked on doors.
Good for
did
you.
all the things. I mean, it's a chance to talk to people.
Yeah.
And hear and listen and then learn.
Yeah.
And then, yes, I was very grateful to people of Boise for re-electing me last year. Mm-hmm. I committed when I ran the first time to no more than 3 terms. I mean really? That, and so I will run once more, but self-term limited, and really will keep working hard every day for the people that make this place so special.
And I know you've talked a little bit about it. That must mean a lot, because there were some tough times through COVID there, being the mayor of Boise. But how much did that support from the people of Boise mean to you?
You know what? And you were there for those tough times.
Yeah,
so
some of them.
You saw them. It was tough. It was tough around the country. It was especially tough on women that were in either leadership roles in private institutions like hospitals or in public office. The feedback and care that this community provided in those really tough times made all the difference. I mean, it was tough. We were all struggling, doing things we hadn't done. First pandemic in 100 years, such division sowed through it. But Boise did what Boise always does, and that was rally. And I still have in my office one day, in some of the darkest times after I'd had protesters right in front of my house, which our front porch is maybe 20 feet from the sidewalk, so really close. And this group of kids with their parents put hundreds of hearts in my yard, and I think that in Diana Laciando's yard too. And then this big box with all these other hundreds of hearts, like Valentine's, that's still in my office at City Hall. And I can't part with it. We put a lot of hearts in the archives. I have some in my house in my office, some in my working office at City Hall. And the box sits there as that reminder of how much Boiseans rallied, not just for me, but for everybody at that time.
Yeah, but he touched on a little bit. I work in a newsroom with very visible, vocal, powerful women just like you. I know being a woman, even though I am not a woman, but I can see it, that it means you face more criticism and more outright, some violent threats. Have those ever shaken you at all? Oh,
definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, they're designed to rattle you.
Right.
So it's really important not to be rattled. And there's moments, though, where you are. You just can't help it. I would say more for me, I find that I get more shaken when I see it happening to other people, or when I saw my kids experiencing the briefings from the police of what to look for and who to look for. So when I experienced it from outside looking in, even though it was happening to me, it was in many ways more jarring than when I was just in it myself. But at the end of the day, you just kind of carry on.
Yeah.
You have to. But it is important that we acknowledge that this happens to so many people, because it is not okay. Right. And sometimes people would say, well, why don't you just like go out and give them cookies, or, you know, why don't you work with them? I said, you know what? There are times when it is appropriate to build bridges. Yeah. And then they're just like hard stop no.
Right.
And so whether it be folks in front of my house with torches and guns back in the day, or people sending letters that were just so inappropriate, and definitely written in ways because I was a woman, that it's just hard stop. Like, absolutely not okay and not safe and not who we are, to be honest. It is not who we are. Mm-hmm. So I've always thought it was important to acknowledge it, but then to recognize and really honor everybody else in this community that makes up for it, and all the good that we see every day.
Yeah, and that's, again, good perspective from you. But I appreciate the empathy, because while Boise is still one of the literally safest cities on the planet, you look at per capita crime, it's very low. There are people who face that violence just because of who they are. I'm trying not to get emotional now, but we both toured the mall after the shooting that killed Joe Acker, a transgender security guard. Roberto Padilla Arguelles, also an Oregon man, driving his car into people he believed were lesbians, burned pride flags, assaulted a trans librarian. Not everyday occurrences, but how can you talk to and sort of ensure that the residents of Boise are protected, especially when we hear some of the hateful rhetoric around specifically immigrants and trans people?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm going to get emotional.
Oh, sorry. No. I cried first. My bad.
We are a safe and welcoming city for everyone, and everyone means everyone. Everyone of goodwill. Let's say that.
There you go.
I hear it too often. I hear it way too often. But I should say what I hear too often is folks that are afraid that this place isn't for them, or folks whose kids have left because they feel that it's not for them. That is exactly what we don't want to have happen. Mm-hmm. And now more than ever, and these aren't things that mayors had to do in the past, right? But now more than ever, it is absolutely necessary to continue giving voice to our values and stay strong in remembering who we are as a city, and telling our kids and our family and our friends and our neighbors that despite what's happening around us, we will always stand up for the people of Boise, stand with them. We see them, they are welcome here. Without a diverse and vibrant community, we wouldn't be who we are. Yeah. And we're going to keep at it in the face of which I can only commiserate with the folks that are feeling the threats every day. Yeah. The targeting that they're experiencing or sensing. When they come after our libraries, Boise's going to stand strong for our librarians and our residents that, you know, have the right to read. When they come after teachers, it's the same. When they come after our kids, we'll do the same. Come after women. Mm-hmm. We have demonstrated, I hope, that we're serious about this, and we'll keep doing that, because Boise isn't Boise without everybody that calls this place home.
Yeah, and I appreciate you talking about the hard stop as well, that it's for everyone, unless, you're out there writing the mayor's name on bullets, or you're having a neo-Nazi rally in front of City Hall. Changing gears, though. Tough topics there. This somewhat tough as well, though. Interfaith Sanctuary wants to build a bigger shelter off State Street, help Boise residents experiencing homelessness. Some of the neighbors not pumped about it. Idaho Supreme Court said the process that counsel to approve the conditional use permit was wrong. So that's been struck down, but not the building permit. So they're still building it. What did you learn kind of through that whole process, and what's next for the shelter?
Yeah, so a couple things. We have a saying in the city of Boise that there's nothing we can't do better. And so, I mean, we live that. Yeah. And in this process, we heard from the courts that they do not believe that our code is written in a way that allows the council to overturn decisions by a volunteer, non-elected body, and that our code needs to reflect the way we've always practiced it, which is that council can substitute conditions, can substitute findings. They make the final decision because they are held accountable by the public. And so we need to do better in our code, and we're going to address that because it's not just interfaith. If the council or if P&Z said yes to something up in a neighborhood that all the neighbors, were upset about, historically would come to council and say, please change the decision. We want to see this different. But in this scenario, given what the court said for cities around the state, council could be like, well, we can't. And that's not what the public expects, right? So this is about many decisions that the council needs to make and accountability and transparency of elected officials. And so we're going to do better, and we're going to address the procedural changes that the court says weren't right.
Because P&Z, volunteer board, and they're not elected, they're appointed. So, those decisions probably lie in
And then on shelter,
officials.
They will have to reapply because the court struck it down. So they'll have to reapply. And I believe that in this redo of the process, also we can do better. And it's up to the shelter to come up with the application, submit all that, and the council will weigh it after planning and zoning weighs it. But at the end of the day, people in this community have always said, we want to make sure that we don't experience the problems of other cities. We don't want to see encampments in our city. And a big part of that, a necessary part of that, is having shelter. And so when an organization proposes to move a shelter, to place a shelter, to grow a shelter, we have to acknowledge that that is an important emergency part of staying true to Boise's goals of preventing encampments, coming up with enough homes for Boiseans, and reducing and ending homelessness in the long run.
Throughout this process, a lot of people have sort of attached Interfaith to the city, but it's not your shelter.
It's not our shelter.
Yeah. Is there ever a chance or a scenario where the city would take it over? No. Fair enough. We talked a lot about growth last episode. There's some major growth happening for Micron right now in southeast Boise as that new fab goes in. I don't know exactly what they're doing over there, but it's highly technical. I'm glad they know what they're doing. In order to make it happen, though, there were a considerable amount of sort of tax breaks from the city, state, feds, to the tune of about $1 billion. Will the people of Boise see a return on investment from that Micron expansion?
Sure, and I want to differentiate the different levels of investment. So the CHIPS and Science Act, what its goal was to bring chips manufacturing back to America to create jobs in our communities, because we'd seen it all go to Taiwan and other places. And so the CHIPS and Science Act invested in INL and is doing all sorts of things. And even there are other semiconductor adjacent companies here in Boise that have applied for investment that are still waiting for news. But they sent, Micron won, $1.5 billion for the Boise project, more for the Syracuse project. The state offers property tax reductions or waives it, and some other different workforce funds. The city doesn't really have any tools. The state's never given us tools for economic development. So we got creative and said, okay, we have franchise fees that for a certain number of years we'll waive as a way for us to have skin in the game. And because we didn't plan on those fees anyway, because we didn't foresee such a big investment and so many jobs coming to Boise. The return for Boise is ultimately about 17,000 jobs, both at Micron and all the adjacent opportunities. It's not, and honestly, it's not just Boise, it's the region, right? So there are suppliers that are high-tech, high-paying jobs that are looking at moving to the region, to Boise. There's so much adjacent opportunity to the Micron fab expansion. And I see this also, now I hear from Aiden's friends that one, they want to come back to Boise because it's such a cool city, but two, that they can find a job. His friends that are computer science majors and engineering majors. But it's important that we're not just a one-company town. So also working on making sure that we have a diverse and vibrant opportunity with all sorts of jobs available. That's why we've done industrial. We've put out land near the airport for industrial proposals so we can have some industrial manufacturing jobs here. That's why we partner with others to create as many opportunities as possible, looking for high-paying jobs so that our kids and theirs can grow kind of the same lives that you and I were able to.
Well, and you talked about it, high-paying jobs. These are not call center jobs. These are high paying. And when we look at, say, housing affordability, the housing crisis, a lot of people look at home prices. I do that a lot on Growing Idaho. But the other part of it is income, right? And the job and what you can afford. And if you have jobs at Micron, high tech, sort of future proof, as some people call them, that's sort of raising the other part of it to make homes more affordable without even necessarily touching, home prices, supply, demand, or anything like that.
Well, when we think about growing the economy too, we have two constraints. That's housing, we need more of it,
right? And
transportation, it needs to be better. And that is really, we need partnership with the state to make it possible to build out a transit system that is future-proof, if you will, using your word. But these opportunities at Micron and everything that we build from it are, there's the stuff that we know about now, but then there's more opportunity for us to become a center of memory manufacturing R&D for the country. And so that's something that they're working on now with the universities and community colleges to try to be established as that point in the United States where the new stuff comes, for lack of better words. And there's that opportunity. There's so much more. But again, it's important that we diversify our economy at the same time. We have opportunity for everybody.
Okay. Speaking of transportation, as we finish up here, you're an avid trail runner. My son, incredibly, also has gotten hooked. He likes trail running as well. I don't understand it. I've never felt more like a dad where I'm like, what are you doing? You're running and no one's chasing you? Can you sell me on running as a fun or energizing thing to do?
Well, I don't know that I want to, Justin, because it used to be that nobody was on those trails. Let's see, trail running. Where else can you don a headlamp, hope that you don't slide on ice, wonder what the eyes staring out of the darkness are, and then start blowing a whistle when coyotes start howling? Like, how could it not be amazing? That's winter trail running in Boise. No, it is. I just love it. I run during the week it tends to be the same trails, but it always feels different. And when I run on roads, I'm like, oh my God, this run is going forever. And it'll be half the distance that I do on a trail. I find it so much more distracting. And just, it's the way to get quiet. But you got to focus so you don't fall. And then you just see the sun coming up and hear the noises of the morning. And it's pretty special. And we can do it right here.
Do you have earbuds in, or do you just go?
No, I put some in the other day just because I was struggling to get motivated, and so I listened to a little Peloton run that was telling me what to do. But I don't like to do that. I like to just be out there,
just have that connection,
and be able. And I think it's safer too, just to know what's happening around me.
Coyotes or whatever the heck.
But if I'm on the green belt or on the streets, you'll see me with earbuds, usually having somebody tell me what to do to help the run go faster.
Have you found anybody from your detail that can actually keep up with you?
No comment. No, I used to be.
Take that, Rob. Claimed to be a former collegiate athlete. I haven't seen it, although he's very jacked, so hopefully he doesn't see this. Mayor, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Hey, if you have comments or questions for us here on This Just In, text them to us at 208-321-5614. Use the hashtag JustIn. Mayor, again, thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Hey, it was great to be here. Thank you.